Paul with another Trace Elliot video, and today we're going to be looking at the GP12 SMX. Now I've already got this out of its case because there's something I wanted to have a look at in here, so I thought while I was at it I might as well make the video that I've been promising for ages. So let's get into it. First thing to note on this particular GP12 SMX is that this came out of a combo, and the way you can tell that is these cooling slots on the front either side. So if you buy one of these heads and it's a wider version like this with the cooling slots, I can say that almost with 100% certainty that's come out of a combo, and at least was in a combo at some point. So that's the first thing to get out of the way. Now I'm going to grab the camera, we'll have a look inside and I'll show you a few things. This particular model is a bit unusual because I've made some changes. You'll see that as we get into it. Okay, so GP12 SMX front panel, and you can see here the new thing that we have that we don't have on the GP7 SMs and the older amps is the input blend. So you can blend between solid state, fully solid state preamp and a valve preamp, and you can have any blend of that you want. The usual passive active switch, and you can see here instead of just having an overload light, this one has the increase, OK and overload, so it gives you some really good guidance on getting your input gain correct for the amp. 12 band graphic equalizer, got the two pre-shapes which you can kick in and out, so you switch between them and kick in and out. That's a momentary switch there. Graphic in and out, graphic level, and then another thing that we've got here, we've got a dual band compressor, so you can see you got low compression, EQ balance and high compression. So this is something that was brand new in this particular model of the amp. And then on the output stage, you got the output level, but you've also got a separate effects level dial for your effects input as well, and of course a standby switch, something that is really useful and I'd say essential. So that's the front panel. Really nice set of controls. Okay, moving around to the rear of the amp, so you've got an on-off switch. Mine's a UK model, so it's 230 volts. There's your send and return for your effects level there, and you've also got a send level here as well, and you've got full range and high pass switch there. You've got your DI out, you got a separate tuner output. You can have a foot switch on this, and that's to kick in all those things at the front there with the switches, so you know your EQ and those sort of things. And then two speaker inputs, both 8 ohms, so I guess you get 4 ohm load into this, which would give you 280 watts RMS, 580 peak. And we'll talk about power sections in a short while. Okay, so this one is made in 1998, looks like 9th of the 1st, so 9th of January 1998. So one of the later ones, and then you can see here's the preamp board, so this is where all that sound and goodness comes from. Let's move around here so we can have a look at some of these. And then here is our valve, put our valve preamp stage, and this one is an ECC 835, I think. Anyway, there is your preamp valve. You might notice this unusual power section here, so I'll talk about that next. Okay, power section. So these amps came with a variety of different power sections. The ones that I've seen the most of are the 300 watt ones, and there were two different types of power section. The original amps came with something called the Bipolar Bear, which used a pair of bipolar transistors, and then because of reliability issues they were later replaced with a 300 watt Mosfet power board. Now the one I've got here is neither of those things. This is from a third-party manufacturer. So there was a gentleman on the south coast of the UK that was producing these, and I found his details, and he still had some boards in stock, and he very kindly made me one up. It did cost me a lot of money, especially to get it shipped over to Australia, and unfortunately I fitted it, and I've made a video on that, and you'll be able to see that. I'll link to the video in the notes. But unfortunately it does have like a distorted sound to it, so that's a little disappointing, and I've left it for probably 18 months, 2 years, maybe longer. So what I'm going to do is potentially take that back out and put the Bipolar Bear back in, and see if I get any difference in the distortion. But while we're on the subject, I'll talk next about the Bipolar Bears and the 300 watt MOSFET. Okay, so promised to talk about these different power sections. So this particular amp, when I got it, had a Bipolar Bear in it. This is it, and it wasn't working. So what I decided to do was replace all the transistors on the board and a couple of resistors that I could see had burnt out. So I did that, and it worked really well for about 5 minutes. And bear in mind, I'm not an electronics engineer, I'm just a bit of a hobbyist, right? I don't really have a lot of the test equipment and that sort of thing that you really need if you're going to go messing with these things. So bearing that in mind, then the thing set on fire. And you can have a look, you can see the state of this board. I mean, I've obviously taken bits off this as well, but yeah, it burnt out. This is an issue 7 of the Bipolar Bear board, and it has a date of 23rd of the 4th 1996 on it. It got the initials JBR. That was the guy that designed it, whose name's escaping me for a minute, but it will come. Johnny Reckless, that's the guy's name, Johnny Reckless. So he was an engineer that worked for Trace. Called it the Bipolar Bear, and if you also can see on the board there, it says "Make it so #1," a reference to Star Trek. So that's this, and you can see these bridged sort of repairs. It's not very good, not very good at all. Anyway, here's another one. So I got hold of another Bipolar Bear off somebody, and I just put a call out for Trace Elliot parts, and they offered it me. I put that in another amp which I sold, leaving me with this one, which isn't that great. So this was made in 1996. Again, this is the issue 7 board, same dates. But this does work. It's not very good, but it does work. I've had to, again, I've got to turn, but you see this wire here, the track actually has worn out or burnt out, so I've had to put that wire in. These wires were already here when I got it, so somebody's obviously done some dodgy repairs in the past, probably similar things. The other thing to note, the only earth point on this board is this here, so that's used for earthing. And you've got these little tiny screws, and what they did is they put a star washer underneath to try and hold it solid so that the vibrations didn't vibrate them loose. They used to vibrate loose, get a bad earth, used to blow the board, and more often than not blow the speakers as well. I had 2 amps. I had a GP7 SM and this GP12 SMX. Both were combos, both came with blown speakers and knackered Bipolar Bear boards. Look anywhere on the internet, people would tell you, especially if you talk to engineers that worked on these things back in the day, this Bipolar Bear thing's pretty rubbish. So what Trace Elliot did is Clive Button, who was a contract consultant for them, contract design engineer, I believe, and I wasn't there so I don't know the full facts. He designed a lot of these preamp boards, all the stuff that gives you the sound, designed a lot of the other Trace Elliot stuff, designed a lot of the early Ashdown stuff. So he actually came up with a Mosfet 300 watt boards, far more reliable, and they were getting swapped out into some of the amps later on. And also I've seen those Mosfets in the solid state version of the V-type, which sounds like a contradiction, but there were two types of the V-type. So there was this type, the one I've got up here, which was valve driven, and then there was another version which had the valve preamp similar to this, but a solid state power section. So they were like a hybrid amp, and I think there was like a 300H and a 600H from memory. And they had that Mosfet power board in as well. I don't believe they had the Bipolar Bears, although I could be mistaken on that. I've been looking for one of those Mosfet boards for years. If you're a competent electronics engineer and if you can get hold of the components, then there's a company in the US that bought up a lot of the old Trace stock, and they've got some bare boards. So one idea I had was to try and build one of those boards up, but given my experience of repairing this thing, I figured I probably wasn't up to that job. So I bought this one. I'm not sure that it's working properly either. So yeah, as a test, I know my Bipolar Bear works. The reason why I wanted to swap the Bipolar Bear out is because I know basically it's on its way out. But I'll give it a try and see if this thing distorts. So I might do an update video on that. But really, this video is just to look at the GP12 SMX and to talk a little bit about these power sections. You find as well there's other versions with different power supplies in, and I don't think any of those had the problems. So this is probably, in Trace Elliot's history, that thing is probably their darkest hour, other than selling to Cayman and Gibson. But that's another story that I'm sure the directors will have more idea about than me. Anyway, that's the video. If you want to see more of these Trace Elliot videos, I've still got a few things that I can talk about. I'm still looking for older Trace Elliots, so you can see just in the collection here at the moment, I do have all the Elf gear. I've got the this Series 6 GP12 600X. I've got a Series 6 GP7 AH100. I've got a GP7 SM AH350 SM, and I've got a GP7 SM 250. So I think in Australia, probably we didn't see the Trace Elliots before the Series 6. So if there's anything older than that in the country, it's probably been imported. So I'm not finding anything in Oz older than a Series 6. So, but I am looking, and if I do manage to pick one up, or if I manage to pick one up cheap from overseas, then I can make some videos on those as well. But anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you found that was interesting, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.